Staying with us, we still have our guest, Mr. Kalu Aja, on the phone, and you can call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourView TVC so we can read your tweets. Mr. Aja, the truth is that aside from salary payments, casual workers often need much more. Many studies have shown that it's beyond the salary. It's more of a sense of belonging to an organization. Many people have said, even regular staff or workers, some get low salaries, but they choose to stay in certain organizations because it's a sense of belonging. They're part of a whole. They're part of a project. Casual workers always feel that it's very temporary. They don't feel committed. They don't feel that they have a sense of belonging to that organization. Aside from salary increase, what do you think some of these banks or organizations can do to at least make these workers feel cared for, feel part of the organization? I've seen various stories, even in the public sector, where you have casual teachers, and they come in and they're not proper teachers, and they're just casual teachers for many years, and they keep asking for to be put into the system properly. How do you think these organizations can do better to make them feel a sense of belonging?
Yeah, so just to be clear, right, so everyone can be a full staff, right? There's always going to be casualization when you have an uptick in business activities like Christmas, Easter. That is fair. Quick wins that the banks can do is, of course, mandate an increase in salaries. That's a quick win, a low-hanging fruit they can do. But long, medium term, can we think about maybe offering hourly work structure where you can say if you work per hour, we pay you per hour? What this would mean is that the person could work 2 or 3 jobs. They could casualize in 2 or 3 banks and then raise their effective earnings. Right now, if you look at the letters I posted, you are only working in one bank, you can't work in another bank, and you are committed to give your full time and effort to earn 50 grand.
Almost nothing.
So if you say we're going to casualize you, then pay them per hour and say we're going to pay you whatever per hour. So that means the guy can then say, okay, I'm going to work in this bank and this bank. And I can put 2 hours here, or 20 weeks here, or 20 hours here, 20 hours here. Like it's done elsewhere in the world. Right. But you're tying them down. You're not giving them a sense of belonging. You're not allowing them to then express or to seek out a career outside. That's where it now gets a bit complicated for them. It's not the casualization that's the problem. It's how it's done and how you are paying them to be a casual staff itself. IT guys are all casual. No one is complaining about IT casual work, because they're highly paid. When you have low-paid casual workers, then you then get into that mix-up. This is not good.
So it's the methodology that needs to change. Okay, let's talk about the wickedness of people at the helm of affairs. We've had stories, of people who start working in international organizations, for instance, and then they have these foreign bosses who come in and they say, we want to give this to the workers, we want to give that, we want to make sure that their healthcare is taken care of, they have bonuses. And then the Nigerian Oga says, no, leave my people, I can handle them. Trying to, cut costs for the organization that probably has the money to pay, to position themselves. Right. And then they don't cut the cost when it comes to their own. They will take all of their benefits. But then when it comes to the casual workers and even regular workers, they try to cut down on what they can get from the organization. Please, how do we deal with these orgas? Because they are the major problem we have in our working system in Nigeria.
I think it's name and shame. Let me say something, right? This stuff happened in Nigeria today. If you took it across the border, it's a lawsuit. If you fire people for the sole intent to rehire them at a lower pay, or to fire them because of a certain race, gender, or whatever, right? It's a lawsuit, and they'll get into a lot of trouble. If someone that has jabbed from Nigeria takes documents to, say, the US, and sues a correspondent bank in the US, you have grounds. The US will say, oh, well, you're dealing with a Nigerian bank that is employing slave labor. You say it's casually, but there are grounds. Walmart was sued for having jobs in India that were doing this same casualization. Walmart was sued. Nestle was sued for hiring child workers in Ivory Coast in the cocoa farms. So all these banks are open to contingent liability. You can't hide and say, we don't employ them. They are casual staff from a third party. Most of the casual staff from what I know, are owned by directors or friends of the guys in the banks. There's a particular bank, huge bank. The casual company is owned by the wife of the founder of the bank, right? So there's a bit of a tie in there, right? So it's a lawsuit that why wait for the lawsuit? We're not asking you to break the bank. These are the lowest paid workers in the spectrum of the whole banking sector. Increase their salaries by 10, 20%. It will be a rounding error in the annual or quarterly profits. Rounding error. But then everyone will be happy. They will be happy. Your shareholders are happy. The economy will be happy. Because these younger people then get money that they can spend. It's like a stimulus to the economy. Because if the younger people are spending, then you are creating jobs for the entire economy. What's the point of a bank declaring 100 billion in net profits?
Yes.
Pays a dividend to its shareholders, but the workers in the bank
are suffering.
cannot afford to feed.
Yeah.
How does
Healthcare.
the economy grow with that scenario? It doesn't.
You know, I don't even know if this is a question or just a comment, because you're right. You hear about these banks. Every time we hear when they're posting their profits in billions. Of naira, we're in shock. Even as customers, because you bill us for all sorts of things, just for using your bank, for transactions. And then we also know, talking about lawsuits, we also know that these are the big boys. And you're telling us these small minions to take them to court. To name and shame or take them to court. Meanwhile, their CSR is huge, and appreciated by governments. They do so many things, So to say to Nigerians who barely even understand their political rights to now call and name and shame the person that at least pays them 30K at the end of the month is hard.
It's hard.
Where does NLC come in this?
So we're back to the NLC issue, because the BC has asked that question twice, because sometimes you worry that NLC only jumps at subsidy. They are waiting for the new administration to come in to start their noise on don't remove subsidy. How can they? I know they do work. Let me be fair to them. They do a lot of work. Maybe that's not to the public, but I think Nigerians need them to be more visible in these kinds of areas. What do you think?
Cost changes.
Yeah, labor in Nigeria, in all honesty and all stability, is ineffectual. They fight high-profile fights for fuel subsidy because it gets them in the news. But the small fights that happen in, say, Damaturu or Enugu or Jos, they don't fight it. The women that cannot have weekend off, take care of their babies for maybe how long is maternity leave? Why can't women get 1 year maternity leave? Why should you go to work on the weekend? When must you? All those little fights that don't get attention, you don't see labor there. But once they say we want to increase fuel scarcity, you see all of them all over them, because that gets the news. They tend to go fight to the government. Maybe they get I don't know. But they need to fight simple fights. And if labor won't fight it, go and make your case. Try and do a class action, even in Nigeria. Test your luck to the court. Go to court and challenge it. There's a particular guy that showed me his employment letter from a bank. He was working in the bank. He was fired, then rehired by an associate company, then posted back to the same bank at 1/3 of his salary. That's illegal. Wow. Even the laws in Nigeria don't say it's legal. That's illegal. Even on the PR level, if you go to the PR and you get a PR on that, you win. So yeah, that's just my take.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaloja, for sharing your thoughts on this. And I mean, we hope that our platform has also helped to support the objective of that tweet. It's really painful to know that Nigerians are still going through this, but thank you so much for joining us on the conversation. When you were speaking earlier, yes, thank you, sir. When you were speaking earlier about the Nigerians and the Oyinbo in the company, and I was not remembering your patriotism comment earlier, because it goes back to how we are. Because I remember a friend of mine just recently relocated to Canada. She said that in her company, which she worked for many years, they had foreign bosses. When those guys came in first, they wanted to bring in policies to help people get proper pay, healthcare, even there's a package, the gratuity they give once you leave. There's an amount they give to you. These are all fancy, and it was really exciting when they started. But once new Nigerian managers came in, they were cutting the whole thing. What's all these largesse? You guys are just like, no, cut it down. And then when she was leaving, she didn't have nothing. They didn't give her anything. So it's part of the patriotism. How do we fight for ourselves?
How do we treat ourselves?
We are not patriotic.
And that is why they have legacy businesses that will go on for centuries upon centuries. That's what Mr. Kalu Aja is saying. You've now created a community. Your workers are now a community. They now believe
feel like
that they belong to that community.
Yeah.
But here, you pay them anyhow. Before you know it, 10 years you're done. You close shop, you open another. You know,